بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رب أرني الحق حقا فاتبعه والباطل باطلا فاجتنبه ولا تجعله متشابها علي فاتبع هواي بغير علم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Okay, so let me say salams to everyone first. Hajj Mike, it's good to see you again. May Allah
Good
bless
seeing
you.
you. Same to you.
Brother Anwar, Tala, Sister Jenna, Sheikh Ali, Habibi, Al-Warda, Sayyid Zamzam, Brother Alex, Hajj Alex, Sister Fatma, and Brother Ali Bazzi. How's everybody doing tonight? Inshallah, everybody's well.
Alhamdulillah.
I just want you to know that today I had it would still be today, technically speaking, because on the eve of this night, alhamdulillah, I was able to visit Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayh. And I mentioned all of you, Sayyid Zamzam, I mentioned you generally speaking, okay? Not specifically by name. So I mentioned those who were in, just to be accurate, okay? So as the part of the Mu'mineen, I said all those that hold love for us in their hearts, all the brothers who are with me in the chat, so inshallah, you're also included. But I mentioned all of you by name at the shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayh, on this night. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts and that you get everything that you ask for in this month. It was very tough actually getting through too, because they have a curfew, especially in the nights of Qadr. They're not allowing anyone who doesn't live around the shrine to actually get in. So we had to get special permissions in order to get in there. But alhamdulillah, we had that tawfiq.
That's to get in the Darih, Sheikhna, or in the vicinity?
No, even just to get into the wilaya, to just get in. From Thawrat al-Ishreen onward, if you don't have an actual bataqat sakan for that area, a residence card for Huwaish, that area, they won't let you in. Yeah, doesn't matter, who you are, they won't let you in. The other day I actually went, I got in from Shar al-Madina, which is a kind of another way, a loop around that us talaba usually take, us students usually take. And I had my kids with me.
Not the one Sayyid Sistani lives on, right? I think or is that a...
No, he's on Shar al-Rasul, but there's two ways to get to him, from one side of the shrine or from the other side. So when you were in the Balaghi school that summer, you would come in from the other side, right?
We were in Najm
Yeah. You were in Najm al-Imma, صح.
Yeah, we would come from
Qusi.
Sheikh Tusi, yeah.
Qusi.
Shara Sheikh Tusi.
Yeah. Anyway, point is that the other day I went, and all I could see was the Qubba. Even though I had a reservation in one of the hotels, the Holy Shrine actually organized it for me to actually have a few rooms for me and my kids. And even though I went and I walked, and it was, alhamdulillah, it was beautiful, hot and humid. We got so much thawab walking there. We got rejected from one point to another, until the best thing that I could do in terms of salam for the Imam was stand right in front of Shar al-Rasul, look at the beautiful dome of the Imam Salamullah alayhi, and do my ziyarah from there. And I remember coming back, my wife was looking at me. She said, "Why are you smiling?" Right? She said, "Why are you?" I would have thought you'd have been really, really sad. I said, "You know what, to be honest with you, first of all, just to be in that vicinity, and to walk towards the Imam is something that I really missed, because of COVID-19, we've had this, we literally had an all-day curfew for a very, very long time until the beginning of the month of Ramadan. Literally, it wasn't until the beginning of the month of Ramadan that they allowed from the morning to like 4 o'clock for people to move around, until iftar time, right? For people to actually go to the shrine. So to actually be able to get there, especially on the nights of Qadr, to be able to walk there and to get the thawab for every single bead of sweat. I told my son, every single bead of sweat, even those tiny little beads of sweat on your mustache, right? I said, you're going to get thawab for that. On the day of judgment, you're going to see how much thawab you got for that. And since your heart is connected to being with the Imam and your goal is to go there and make dua for all of these mu'mineen, right? Then inshallah, you've gotten, the rewards for it, inshallah. So I couldn't help, but really just smile, when my eyes fell on this beautiful sight of the dome that I took for granted, that I would see every single morning, every single afternoon, when I would go at night, it's something that really affects you, as someone who has left literally everything to be next to Amir al-Mu'minin, right? So when you're there and you can't go, it's literally like ripping your heart apart, right? Right, Brother Ali, Sheikh Ali, the nights that you were there, right?
100%.
You can't go. So I had tawfiq, alhamdulillah, today to spend a good amount of time to make dua for everybody, meant to be able to mention people by name, alhamdulillah, to be able to do a'mal there as well. What was really tawfiq from Allah. Pray for me, inshallah, tomorrow, it works out for me to be able to go as well. Tomorrow is even more stringent because it's considered Laylat al-Qadr Kubra here in Najaf. So in Iraq in general. So they're closing everything down early, so inshallah, maybe Allah gives us the tawfiq. If not, then I'm still going to try to go out and walk, get a few beads of sweat to come out so that maybe they can be intercessors for me on the day of judgment, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Okay, so we've finished a good amount of the Dua Iftitah. We finished the first paragraph where the Imam literally exhibited to us how it is that we should talk to Allah. Allahumma inni aftatihu ath-thana'a bihamdik. The first thing I should do is I should open up always by praising you, O Allah. And how do I praise you? By hamd, right? And then we said he listed, that he gave us this theological dissertation on how he knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And how it is that this yaqeen that he has is reflected in the words, right? That are really heartfelt when you read them and you really focus on them. We showed the different levels where he sandwiches his requests. And he starts, first of all, by seeking his first question, his first dua to Allah. And we said dua is when someone who's low asks of someone who's higher than them, right? In authority. So the first thing he asks is what? Do you remember? What's the first thing he asked for? No one? He asked for permission to speak.
For us, for Allah to listen to us.
Yeah, right. Permission to speak and permission that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears him. Right?
Allahumma qad adhanta li, right? Allahumma qad adhanta li bi du'aik.
Yes. Ahsant.
Tasma' ya sami'u midhati.
Ahsant. Yeah. So this is the first thing he asks for. After he tells Allah, you are, you're greatest in your rahmah, you're ashad al-mu'aqibin, you're a'zam al-mutajabbirin, he just butters Allah up, right? He's teaching us, butter Allah up, tell him how great he is, but say it with sincerity, right? And then ask for permission to speak, okay? And then ask for permission to be heard. So the next thing we said is basically, again, what does he mention? He basically mentions all the things that Allah took him out of, all of the bad situations that Allah takes us out of, to remind us, right? And to remind us of the problems we've gone through and how many times Allah has saved us, that we always come out of any struggle that we go into, number one. And number two, that Allah is the one that can take us out of those troubles. And we know this, O Allah, right? We appreciate this, O Allah. And we gave the example that it's very similar to when we talk to one of our parents, right? And from first buttering them up, and praising them. And then after that, telling them, how important they are to us, and then seeking permission to speak and to ask for what we want. and hoping for them to listen. Please, could you listen to me? And then we said that after that, we mentioned all the things that they've given us and all the things that they prevented us from falling into that are bad for us, right? And then he starts with the dissertation on al-hamd, okay? And then the second paragraph, that's when he starts asking, Allahumma inni as'aluka. He still hasn't asked, but he says, Allahumma inni as'aluka qalilan min kathir. Oh Allah, I ask you for a little, right? Just a speck, right? From so much that I could ask for. And you have no need for it, right? But I have such a great need for it, right? And we went on and explained how it is that the Imam in the second paragraph speaks to Allah again, right? That how he maintains the etiquette of what he asks for and how he asks for it. Again, for example, when he says, الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك. You are the one that allowed me to, gave me sustenance with your mercy. You are the one that showed me your abilities. You are the one that made me realize, your answers and your responses to my questions and my du'as, right? So appreciating, telling Allah, look, I appreciate what you've given me. Showing that sense of appreciation, we said, when Hajj Mike and I were talking, right? And we said when one of our kids comes to us and talks that way and tells us how much they appreciate what we've done for them, they're more likely to get what they want, right, Hajj? Right? And since we're all Allah's creations, then that means that, if you remember when we proved the right of Allah upon us, that being the greatest right, we compared first and foremost in the logical argument, our relationship to our parents to our relationship to Allah. That we always seek to please our parents, right? And we always seeking that pleasure means being obedient to them, it means emulating them, dedicating ourselves to pleasing them, and we feel that sense even when our parents aren't around, okay? So by priority then, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most worthy, more worthy than anybody else, right? So the same thing applies here. So just as Allah sees me, how I treat my parents, He expects me to treat Him the same way and better. Of course, that's assuming I treat my parents well. So if I don't treat them well, then don't do the same thing with Allah, obviously, right? Make sure that you are treating Allah positively as well as your parents. We got to the third paragraph where we said, Allah says, Alhamdulillahi Malik al-Mulk, and we explained what this mulk is, right? We explained that what the al even on the mulk means. Is it al-istighraqiyya or is it faqat only al-ta'rif? And we said al-ta'rif meaning a definitive article, or is it al-istighraqiyya meaning that it includes everything, right? Other than just the world of al-mulk, which we said is the physical world versus the metaphysical, right? Does it include the world of malakut also, right? Or is he specifically referring to now Allah's materialistic or physical dominion in the world that we live in? And we explained that really this al is istighraqiyya. It means that this mulk here is being used both for the world of malakut and the world of mulk, the unseen world and the metaphysical world as well as the physical world. Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first and foremost, He focuses on the physical things. Like what does He say? He says, Mujri al-Fulk, right? The one that makes the galaxies operate, right? Musakhkhir al-Riyah, the one who has dedicated the winds to having certain functions and certain jobs, right? Khaliq al-Isbah, the one who basically allows the sun or the daylight to break out and split the night, right? But what does He say after that? After He says Dayan ad-Din, He says the one who created your religion, right? And holds you responsible for following it. And then He says Rabbil Alameen. And we said this is how we know this al is istighraqi. Because He didn't say only Rabbil Alam, He said Rabbil Alameen, which means I want you to not only focus on what I'm talking about here in terms of the galaxies, right? And we mentioned, He mentions the galaxies, which are wider, right? And then He mentions the riyah, which are on earth. And then He says Faliq al-Isbah, which is what we see today, in this day and every day, right? In my locality. Notice how from outside in, Allah works, by giving me these beautiful words of the Imam. And then at the end, He brings me from where I started. He says, Rabbil Alameen. And we mentioned how many different worlds there are. So when he says the Lord of the worlds, what worlds is he talking about? He's talking about the world of Barzakh. He's talking the world of Rahim. He's talking the world about the world of, meaning the world of the womb, the world of this dunya, the world of purgatory life in the grave, the world of akhirah. Right? And we said it could also mean, not just that, it could also mean the parallel worlds in which we live, the world in which the malaika live, the world in which the jinn live, and the world in which we live. Right? So again, so how do we know Al is istighraqiyya, meaning that it's all encompassing? Is we have these clues, right? He works from the outside in the physical world, but then he brings me all the way out, right? And we know that logically speaking, he has to include everything. So we went on, and after he mentions this, he went on a dissertation of gratitude and thanks using alhamd again. And we said alhamd is a wider concept than shukr, right? Which means it's all inclusive. Oh Allah, just as Amir al-Mu'mineen thanked you by saying Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, I'm going to thank you too. But what am I going to thank you for? I'm going to thank you for your tolerance, even though you know things about me that nobody else knows. I thank you for your forgiveness, even though you are capable of punishing me. I thank you for your patience with me, right? Even though I anger you, right? I thank you. I thank you for your creation, for you have created all things, right?
Sheikhna.
The fact that you made it easy for me to gain sustenance, right? تفضل Sheikh Ali.
Afwan, can you just shed some light on the word anatih when he says ala tuli anatihi?
Yeah, so this is another word for sabr.
Sabr.
Yeah. Okay. And what I mentioned too, of course, I'm repeating some of the stuff for Brother Zamzam and Sheikh Ali, who were with us yesterday. Here, what he's really doing is he's talking, every single statement really is a statement of what hajjatala. It's all a statement of one topic really, only one. Who remembers what it was? What was the one topic here? Look at the theme. So he's using alhamd, but he's saying alhamdulillah ala hilmihi ba'da ilmih, his tolerance. 2. Alhamdulillah ala afwihi ba'da qudratihi, his forgiveness, even though he can punish me. 3. Alhamdulillah for his patience, even though with me, even though I anger him, right? And he is capable of punishing me and doing whatever he wants to do with me, right? We said that these things, one after the other, is really a repetition of one concept. What is that concept?
Tolerance.
Tolerance. Right? And we know that in the Arabic language, as you know, Sheikh Ali, right, taking Qatr al-Nada, that the repetition of a word, right, in the Arabic language or a concept, you can repeat a specific word, or you can repeat synonyms of that word, or you can repeat a phrase that has been kind of coined a little differently. If you keep repeating the same idea, then that means what? It's a tool of what, Sheikh Ali?
Tawkid.
Ahsant, which is emphasis, right? So what good is that? What's good is in that is exactly as good as you feel, Sayyid Zamzam. If I come to you and I say, I want to thank you so much for being patient with me. You're so kind for just, putting up with me, right? You're so amazing for, just giving me your time, right? How appreciated do you feel when you hear all that? Right? Maybe too appreciated. You're like, it's too much, relax, right? Okay. But this is what I'm doing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is unlimited. So no matter how much I say, right? كلما شكرتك افتقر شكري إلى شكر. Right? The Imam Salamullah alayhi says, every time I thank you, my thanks ends up being deficient in thanks and in gratitude. Why? Because he's unlimited. Right? So the next thing that he says is, oh, all thanks to you, oh Allah, right? As you are the creator of everything, right? You are the one that has made sustenance easy to gain and you've given it to me, right? You are the one, again, he mentions Falaq al-Isbah, right? Because this is a great thing, right? That rizq doesn't come by sitting at home, right? Or or at night usually. Rizq comes with daybreak, right? And we have so many hadiths that say that it's makruh for one to sleep between Fajr and sunlight. And it's makruh for one to sleep between daylight and noon,
Maghrib.
unless it's right before noon. Okay, it's called qaylulatan. This is mustahab, right? But until about 11:30, you know, depending on what time salah is for you, that time is a time of rizq. Specifically between Fajr and sunrise, that time specifically is the time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yuqassim al-arzaq. It's the time where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually apportions the rizq, the sustenance. So if I wake up late, you know, and I miss my salah, okay, then I've missed out on that. You find all of the major, most successful people in the world, they usually wake up at 4 a.m. Look at all of the literature that's out there, right? All of them, they wake up early, right? Usually before the sun rises. Why?
Right.
And right? Why? Because it sets the tone for the day, right? And even though they don't know it, Allah apportions the rizq during that time. So, and then he starts mentioning Dhil Jalali, Wal Ikrami, Wal Fadli, Wal In'ami. Again, he's repeating. What is he? He's saying, oh, the one with great majesty, the one of great generosity, the one of great favor upon us, the one who gives all of the blessings. And then we said, what does he do? He goes back to a theistic statement, you know, to show that I know Allah, you know, what you've given and what you've done, and what I know of your abilities in themselves, you know, leaves me awestruck. Okay, الذي بعد فلا يرى. He who is far in that he cannot be seen, right? وقرب فشهد النجوى, right? But he is close, right? In that he literally witnesses everything. And what's the najwa? When I call out to him, unajillah. Singular is najwa, right? Source of najwa is munajat, right? You've heard of the munajat of Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullah alayhi. So he's so close that he's as close as hearing my call, is what is being said here. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. All glorified and almighty is Allah. And then he goes back again. Now, after he mentions this, he goes back again to al-hamd. It's like someone who's you know, who's like coming up for air, you know, and then diving back deep again into Allah's thanks and gratitude, right? Completely overwhelmed. Okay, Alhamdulillah alladhi laysa lahu munazi'un yu'adilu. Again, a dissertation, but now through what? Through hamd, right? All gratitude is to Allah, He who has no partner. And we mentioned here that he mentions this several times. So he mentions several things. First, he says, alladhi laysa lahu munazi'un yu'adilu, is that he doesn't have an equal to oppose him, right? Or that an equal, yeah. Munazi' is a person who opposes you. وَلَا شَبِيهٌ يُشَاكِلُهُ. Nor does he have someone who is comparable to him, who's similar to him, right? That again, يُشَاكِلُهُ means who opposes him or contradicts him. وَلَا ظَهِيرٌ يُعَاضِدُهُ. Neither does he have someone to support him, right? قَهَرَ بِعِزَّتِهِ الْأَعْزَّاءِ. He was able to literally cause those who are of high status, he's the only one that can break them. Right? And we mentioned the example of the coronavirus with Trump, right? How no one in the world was able to trump Trump except for Allah with a tiny little virus that nobody else can see.
Mm-hmm.
No one in the world can see this thing, you know, not even Trump, right? Who thinks you should disinfect yourself with bleach. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala literally, you know, causes, this is what the Imam is saying. He's saying, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qahara bi'izzatihi al-a'zza. Those who have reached high levels of stature, whether it's because of their wealth or whatever else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one that can break them down to size. If by nothing else, the fact that he can take their lives. If by nothing else. This is called qahr. Qahara, if, for example, if somebody says something bad to me, and he humiliates me. What do I say? I say, Ya akhi qaharni, which means that this person, he literally squashed me. He humiliated me, right? And qahar means actually to demolish something. If I say qahara, it means he broke him down, you know, or broke it down, or squashed it, you know, something that really has to do with like putting something down. That's al-qahr, okay? And qahr is also used as something that I feel, as an emotion. I say, ana maqhur, you know, I feel as though I'm downtrodden and broken, okay? So, qahara bi izzati al-a'zza, it means that with his status, because he's the unlimited, he's able to break those who are limited. وَتَوَاضَعَ لِعَظَمَتِهِ الْعُظَمَاء. We said, and humbled, are those who are great to his greatness. Because he's akbar, he's greater than anything, right? فَبَلَغَ بِقُدْرَتِهِ مَا يَشَاءُ. And therefore, with his ability, he can do whatever he wants. Whatever he wants, right? And then he says, Alhamdulillah alladhi yujibuni hina unadi. All thanks is to Allah who answers me when I call him. There's that similar to the najwa. He comes again, repeats it here. When he says, he's far in that I don't see him, but he's close in that he hears me. He hears my call. Here he brings it again, the Imam Salamullahi alayhi. Alhamdulillah alladhi yujibuni hina unadi. Not just that. All thanks to Allah who answers me when I call him. But وَيَسْتُرُ عَلَيَّ كُلَّ عَوْرَةٍ وَأَنَا عَصِيٌّ. Right? And what does he do? He also protects my indiscretions, right? Keeps them away from others, from them seeing them, right? When I'm alone and I'm by myself, nobody knows what I do, with my eyesight and with my hearing and, with my senses and my faculties other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And yet, even though I have indiscretions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he protects me. Yastur. Allah is a sattar. He's the protector. He hides things. Right? He keeps our secrets. Sheikh Ali.
Sheikhna, afwan, just a question here. Why did the Imam use this word, awra? وَيَسْتُرُ عَلَيْهَا كُلَّ عَوْرَةٍ. He could have said dhanb. He could have said khati'a. Just something that I was thinking about. Because I was thinking maybe it comes from that which is concealed.
So I figured you'd ask that question. Being a talaba, being a Hawza student. So awra comes from the word awara or ara, right?
No.
Ara, what does it mean? You know what ara means? As a fa'al madi, ara.
Like he I don't know, like he humiliated, like ara alayh.
Yeah.
Oh, this is ar, they say in Arabic.
Yeah, ar is something that's aib, something that's considered
Shameful, maybe.
Shameful, ahsant. Something that people can shame me for doing, something that's considered shameful, that contradicts shyness, for example, right? If I do, if the ba'ayyar hada means I basically make fun of them and I humiliate them for something that they did. Okay, so here the term awra, even though in fiqh we know awra is the private parts, right? Awratul rajul, the awra of a man are his genitalia, right? His private. Awratul mar'a jasaduha. As for a woman, right? What should be concealed is all of her body, from the public, other than her face and her hands, right? But here, this is umum wa khusus min mutlaq, okay, which means that it's a more encompassing concept with a lesser concept encompassed within it, okay? Meaning that awra can be, yes, he who protected my private parts from being seen, right? Or concealed my indiscretions, right? That maybe from my privates, okay? But no, it actually refers to all things that have, it's a greater concept also, in that al-awra huwa kull ma yu'ar bihi al-insan. Al-awra is the source of whatever a human being can be shamed for, okay? So if I do something,
encompasses the af'al basically.
Yeah, the af'al, the things that I do that are considered ma'ib, that are considered aib, that are considered shameful, that others would, humiliate me for or shame me for, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects me, right? So if I looked at, for example, if I caught a glimpse, for example, if I went to Camp Deer one night and I didn't mean it, but I caught a glimpse of, someone on the beach, okay? And my eye caught them, nobody would know. Nobody would know except for Allah, right? If I'm on the internet, okay, and then, I'm going through YouTube and then there's like an image on the side or an ad that comes up, that pops up, and I took a fraction, instead of taking a nanosecond, I took a fraction of a second, right? That was more than a nano. And I know myself. Nobody knows except for Allah, right? I know myself. I know what I saw. And Allah knows what my intention was. If my intention was not to look more than I should have, then Allah knows. But Allah still hid that from people. If somebody was over my shoulder and was to see me seeing something, right? Then what would happen? They would judge me and they would shame me for it, right? But Allah is a sattar. He's protected me from that, right? So, and then the Imam Salamullahi alayhi says, وَيُعَظِّمُ النِّعْمَةَ عَلَيَّ فَلَا أُجَازِي. So he gives me the opposite, right? The opposite of something that's considered a awra, that's something that I would want to hide, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even with all of the indiscretions I have, what does He give me? He literally grandifies, right? He grandifies وَيُعَظِّمُ النِّعْمَ عَلَيَّ وَأَنَا فَلَا أُجَازِي. So He basically makes the ni'mah that He gives me, the blessings that He gives me even greater, you know, even though I don't pay Him back, right? For whatever. So imagine this. Imagine a friend, okay, who doesn't ask about you, right? And a friend that always asks about you, okay? Would you be as generous to the friend that doesn't ask about you as you would be to the friend that does ask about you all the time?
No.
Of course not, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He still, whatever He still gives in plenty, right? Even though, and we see it, right? We see Allah giving to everybody. Allah still, even though I don't respond to Him, even though I forget Him, even though I become heedless, right? He still gives me plenty of blessings.
Yes.
وَيُعَظِّمُ النِّعْمَةَ عَلَيَّ فَلَا أُجَازِي. Right? It's as though, you know, I'm reminded by this when this event happened with Malik al-Ashtar, you know, where a man actually spits at him, and then he goes and prays 2 rak'ahs for him, right, in the masjid. Or it happened with Imam al-Baqir salamullahi alayhi, where a man said bad things about his mother in front of his face. And then he walks to his home and he says, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, as his companions are with him. And he knocks on the door and he says, you know, if what you said about my mom is right, then may Allah forgive her. If what you said is false, then may Allah forgive you, right? And then he literally, both individuals, whether it's at Malik al-Ashtar's feet or at Imam al-Baqir's feet, right? They just collapse in gratitude and thanks for the type of akhlaq that they have. Notice they bestowed a huge blessing on them, the blessing of forgiveness, right? Right? That, what a huge blessing to give someone. And that broke that person down. Whether he was an infallible or not, like Malik al-Ashtar, wasn't an infallible. So for me, then it would be the same, right? If I, even though, notice the akhlaq of Allah, this is what I need to learn from this too, is that sure, there are certain people that might forget me in dua. There are certain people that might not, you know, check up on me, right? But still I will remember them in dua, right? This is important, okay? Why? Because it's from the akhlaq of Allah. And we said one of the primary things ways to show gratitude to Allah is to emulate Him, right? To see how He treats others. And then, فَكَمْ مِنْ مَوْهِبَةٍ هَنِيئَةٍ قَدْ أَعْطَانِي. How many great talents has He given me, right? How many gifts has He given me? Mawhiba comes from the word hiba. Hiba means gift, right? Wahaba means to give a gift. Mawhiba, the mim is masdariya, which means the source of gifts. In this day and age, we use the term mawhiba to mean talent, right? And the talent that Allah has given me is a hiba, it's a gift. We say, oh, it's a God-given gift that I can draw, or it's a God-given gift that I have a beautiful voice, or it's a God-given gift that I, you know, remember things. I have a photogenic memory, for example. Right? These are all gifts, mawhiba, that Allah has given me, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of that gift, of that hiba, okay? So when He says, فَكَمْ مِنْ مَوْهِبَةٍ هَنِيئَةٍ, right? And how many gifts, because you are the source of gifts, have you given me, right? Hani'atin here means that something that I enjoy. So He's given me gifts that I enjoy. Hani'a comes from hana'a. Yuhanni'u tahni'atan, right? Hana'a means to, in the past, to actually to enjoy something. Yuhanni'u or hanna'a can also mean to thank someone, or afwan, to congratulate someone for having something, or for achieving something. Yuhanni'u means to congratulate someone. Tahni'atan means that this is, we use a tahni'a, meaning almost like a greeting card what do you call it? We say kartu tahni'atan. So a card of that shows gratitude or congratulations to someone for their birthday or something like that. So hani'atan, then, that word, when we say hani'an mari'an, means, inshallah you enjoyed it, you know. It's almost as though we're congratulating them for having something or doing something good. Okay? So we say hani'an when somebody eats. Hani'an mari'an, you know, inshallah you enjoy it, right? So here hani'atan means that these are gifts that Allah gave me and I enjoyed, right? قد أعطاني, that He has given me. وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني. And how many great things that are calamitous and cause me fear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected me from. And we talked yesterday about the concept of dafa Allahu ma huwa a'zam. Allah pushed away from me and kept me from those things, kept away from me those things that would be worse than, you know, what I'm experiencing now, right? And then He says, وَبَهْجَةٍ مُونِقَةٍ قَدْ أَرَانِي, and something that is joyous, you know, these joyous occasions that He's shown me, things that give me joy. فَأُثْنِي عَلَيْهِ حَامِدًا, and therefore, we said He goes back to what He started with. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك, right? And therefore, I praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with gratitude, with hamd, right? To encompass all of these things that the Imam mentioned, and to thank Him for them. Musabbiha, knowing full well that no one could have given me this except for you all. Because the tasbih is what? Is exaltation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tasbih is exaltation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning that I don't ascribe a partner to Him. I know that all of this stuff that I mentioned came from you and from Allah and from no one else. You see? And with that, yesterday we were able to finish that paragraph. Today I was hoping to finish a new paragraph, but inshallah, remembering, you know, and going over this information, it makes it, solidifies it and creates, you know, neuronal pathways, right? Remember, if we repeat something 3 times.
That's Sheikh Aous' strategy.
Yeah, it's inshallah a divine strategy. You know, it's not mine.
You reminded me of when you were saying عموم خصوص مطلق. You reminded me of the dars we took at the bookstore for your in-laws. Remember? I think that's where you first gave us that dars.
Yeah. I remember when we moved the class that day over there, because we were
Yeah,
locked out that weekend. So.
Ahsan, yeah.
We moved it to my father-in-law's bookstore. He passed since then. So don't forget him from your dua and reciting Fatiha for him, inshallah, for all of your dearly departed as well.
My father still speaks very highly of him. He loves to say the rahmatullah alayh.
Okay, so the next paragraph, so that those who were here before can take something new. Alhamdulillah alladhi la yuhtaku hijab. Again, he starts with alhamd. All gratitude is to Allah, whose veil is unbroken. Okay? What veil is unbroken? Meaning that, again, this is a theistic statement, by the way. Okay? It means that no matter what you do, right, there's no way for you to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, physically speaking, right? You can reach Allah metaphysically speaking. You can reach Allah through your qalb and through your intellect, right? Reach Him as in get to know Him and realize Him, okay? In as much as you can, right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His hijab is unbroken. And think about this. We gave the example yesterday, Sister Jenna and Hajjatala and Hajj Mike, you remember, yesterday we spoke about the sister who, and we were giving this example on dafa Allahu ma huwa a'zam, that Allah pushes away those things that are, you know, even worse, right? When we do the right thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He allows us to realize certain ni'am, certain blessings, and He also allows us to keep away certain bad things away from us, right? Certain niqam. So we gave the example of the sister who in the, I think, 70s or 80s, she moved from Lebanon with her family, and they were heading to California. They stopped in New York, and we said in those days, they would give the green card in the airport. But in order to get the green card, everybody has to take a picture. And one of the things the picture has to show is the ear. So the women were requested to take off their hijabs so that they can take a picture so that their ear would show, right? The other women who were with her, they were fine with it, but she wasn't. She wouldn't take off her hijab. 3 hours passed, they missed their flight to California. She wouldn't take off her hijab until they conceded, right? They ended up taking a picture of her with her hijab. They didn't have a choice. They said, no way, never gonna take my hijab off for a picture. So what happens, they finally rebook, they get to California, right? And their relatives, they were surprised that they were still alive because the flight that they missed was a flight that ended up crashing. And this is a true story. So this is dafa Allah ma huwa a'zam. And number two, alhamdulillah alladhi la yuhtaku hijabuh wa la yughlaqu babuh wa la yuraddu sa'iluh wa la yukhayyabu amaluh. Right? All thanks to Allah, whose veil is unbroken. Nobody understands the totality of Allah's wisdom, right? No one can reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that manner that we could reach each other, through social media. But we can reach Allah with, a thought. We can reach Allah with a word, right? We can reach Allah by a decision that we make, right? And Allah's door is never closed for us. Even though you can't break through His veil, right? You can enter His doors, right? وَلَا يُغْلَقُ بَابُهُ. His door is always open to us. Through what? Through a thought, through our dua, through thinking about Him and realizing Him in our hearts, right? وَلَا يُرَدُّ سَائِلُهُ. And once I ask, Allah responds right away. And we mentioned yesterday, if you want to go talk to a world leader or someone who is important, you can't. You have to set an appointment, and there's no guarantee that you might even get to them. But Allah, who's the unlimited, right? Who's given everything, right? Who's given everything, and given everything, and more to everything, right? His doors are always open. The greatest authority that will ever be is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and yet His doors are always open. وَلَا يُرَدُّ سَائِلُهُ. And if I ask, He gives. وَلَا يُخَيَّبُ آمِلُهُ. And He doesn't let down anyone who hangs his hopes at His door. Right? Alhamdulillah alladhi. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected that woman and an entire family, we said, right? By a single action that connected this person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah protected the entire family, right? Allah protected, we said, the nation by the Prophet. وَمَا كُنْتُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ. We said, Allah said in the Quran, I would not torture them with you amongst them, right? That's why Allah didn't, punish the nations after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, unlike Ad and Thamud and Qawm Salih. Then He says, Alhamdulillah again, الذي لا يؤمن الخائفين ولا ينجي الصالحين عفوا وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين. Here it is. All thanks to Allah, the one who gives security and safety to those who are fearful. يؤمن الخائفين, and does what? وينجي الصالحين. Look at that righteous woman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved her and saved the people around her, right? Allah says, وَيُنَجِّي الصَّالِحِينَ. Those who are righteous, Allah saves them. وَيَرْفَعُ الْمُسْتَضْعَفِينَ. And those who are weak, Allah elevates them in status. And I gave an example before, and I'll give it again. Think about reciters, Quranic reciters in our community. Right? They can be, just normal people. They're not heads of corporations, right? They're not, they don't drive Bugattis and Benzes and that sort of thing. All they do is they do one simple thing, right? They recite the Holy Quran. Right? How important to us are they in our community? How much do we respect them? And I mentioned the other day, they're not even scholars, right? They might not have gone and studied in the Hawza, but because they gave so much attention to the words of Allah. Reciters that recite lamentations, latmiyat and nasheed, right? About Ahl al-Bayt, about Allah, right? Look how much we revere them. right? Because وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, Allah says. That pride, right, and status is only to Allah, to His Messenger, and to the mu'mineen. Mu'mineen here refers to Ahlul Bayt first and foremost. وَعَلَى رَأْسِهِمْ عَلِي ibn Abi Talib سَلَامُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ يَعْسُوبُ الدِّينِ, the first of which is Amir al-Mu'mineen سَلَامُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. And who? And the followers that follow them, the mu'mineen that follow them. So someone might be, just a regular guy, when you see him, you don't think much of him. But then he gets on the podium, and he sounds like a lion as he speaks about Ali ibn Abi Talib. And everybody sees him that way. It elevates who he is. Not because of him per se, but because of the words and the sincerity in the words, right? Allah elevates. So when I know people who, wallahi al-alam, when you hear them, sometimes you see them looking at you see some speakers, they're doing the majlis of Imam Hussein and they're looking at their watch, and they're like, and they're going through the motions, and yet people are still affected and still respect them despite that, right? Why? Because they've connected themselves to the unlimited creator. And Allah can only elevate. There's nowhere to go other than up when you connect yourself with Allah. That's what the Imam is saying. Right? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allah salli ala Muhammad.
Ya Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Very true and inspiring words, Sheikh.
May Allah bless you, Habib. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll stop here. Okay? And we can continue, but I'll stop here. I'll stop here for a reason. Because I want you to now reflect on these words and tell me, what do you think? What do you feel? We're seeing there's a lot of concepts here, right? Give me some input. I want to hear what you're understanding, how you're benefiting. Is there anything that just stood out to you that you'd like to share? Almost like a kind of like an aha moment when you heard a concept in a paragraph. Maybe not this paragraph, maybe another paragraph. Please do share.
Sheikh, the other day I was helping out with some people moving some boxes and a couple what pallets are.
Yes.
Yeah, those wooden pallets. So in one day I was trying to put a box in the back of this area. And I had to jump off this platform. I don't know. It was a weird situation. Anyways, I hit my knee on this metal, metal steel ball, like iron ball, and it hurt for a little bit. But it was a big impact, and I thought I broke something. And then a couple minutes later, nothing happened. Alhamdulillah. 10 minutes later, somehow the pallet, I tried placing it somewhere, and it ended up falling back and hit me on the head. It hit me hard on the head from a distance, from a height. And I was and I kept checking, am I bleeding or anything? I didn't black out. And I sat down for a second. And I'm these two calamities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it could have been horrible. It could have been so bad. Because number one, the iron, imagine an iron ball. I don't know, it was so weird. Nothing happened to my knee. I'm not even sore. And then also the pallet hit in my head. I could have got knocked out and then fell on something else and could have broke my head or something because no one else was there. So I'm sorry I took a while, but when I read many وَعَظَمَةٍ مَخُوفَةٍ قَدْ كَفَانِي. And subhanallah, truly subhanallah, I could not, something could have happened. Something tragic really could have happened. So alhamdulillah. And I just continued life like nothing happened. It's a blessing.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
Yes, Sheikh. If I wanted the feeling that I got, particularly this year in the Shahr Ramadan, reciting Dua Iftitah, I was finding myself that I'm paying more attention to the meaning. I don't know if it's maybe simply because I'm sitting at home and I'm concentrating. But first thought that came to my mind as I'm reciting this dua, or rather I put it on my TV, in the Arabic recitation with the English subtitles so I can follow along. The first thought that comes to my mind is that, Ya Allah, these are the actual thoughts that I wish to express, but I don't have the words to express them as eloquently as does this dua, which was written for us by Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. So that led me to my next thought, and that was shukr to Allah that I have been given this guidance, that somehow Allah taught me this. I found this madhab, this religion, this faith, this path. So I gave thanks to Allah. And then the actual translation in the dua, so many of those things, especially in the initial parts of it, as you mentioned earlier in your khutbah, resonate with me as an individual, that, hey, thank Allah that He averted so many misfortunes, which I might not have perceived otherwise. And also, things that did not work out for me, maybe there was a hikmah in that only Allah knows better. So these are the thoughts that been going through my mind in this holy month.
Awesome. Jazakallah for sharing. Allah bless you, Sayyid Zain. Anybody else?
Shukran. I do have a question, Sheikh.
Yes.
If I may ask, please. My question is, especially regarding Fajr Salat, you mentioned earlier that the time between Fajr and sunrise is a very special time in which risk is determined and distributed. However, I actually have personally been following the schedule previous to Ramadan, where I wake up at 4 a.m. and starting my day at 4 a.m. It's been a difficult jihad, but I've been managing it. But however, in Shahr Ramadan, it really just threw things really off, because obviously, and especially these nights, observing Salatul Layl and Laylatul Qadr, does that still apply now? Because we're staying awake all night, and we stay awake till Fajr, but then at least I go to sleep at Fajr. So how can we sort of, compromise that? Should we just stay awake until the sun actually comes up? Would you recommend that? Or
well, first of all, if you're staying up all the way to Fajr, I would suggest that you sleep after sunrise. Okay, so sunrise isn't that much longer after that. Reciting Quran is highly recommended, gaining knowledge during that time, reciting dua during that time, dua al-ahd, for example, a couple of ziyaras, and you're good to go. The month of Ramadan is an exception, for sure.
Okay.
Because, even your breath in it is an exaltation, according to Prophet Muhammad. So you're good, you're set in that respect, okay? Because you're going to leave this month sinless. I mean, all of us, we end up, if we're adherent to, and whether we're adherent or not, Allah makes each breath an exaltation, and that alone is great thawab. So, sins are just falling off, every single day, every single moment, every single breath. So, but what I would advise you to do, like I had a 2 a.m. First 2 weeks, I had to give a 2 a.m. lecture because of the time difference, right? And then I had to give a 5 a.m. lecture.
Okay.
And then a 6 a.m. lecture. Then I had a 7 a.m. lecture. So, I had worked hard, to make sure, because, in the house you have to wake up early anyway, So after the coronavirus happened, for example, I stayed on my schedule, but then, I fell off my schedule too, I was still, alhamdulillah, waking up for morning prayer, but I was having difficulty. It wasn't as easy because I didn't have my early morning classes, to go to. So I had to reset my schedule again. Then month of Ramadan hit, and with the first 2 weeks, even though I hinted at those who were organizing what would be a 2 a.m. program for me, which was 7 p.m. for them, I said, it might be better after iftar, because then it would be after morning prayer for me. But they just weren't getting the hints, and I didn't want to press them. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle because I wasn't getting enough sleep during the day. And I know myself, when you sleep during the day, for me and for most people, it's scientifically proven, that, you know, at night it's subata, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, that it's the time for your body to rest and recharge, right?
Yes.
To literally get rid of all of the poisons that collected in your body, you know, to reset for the next morning. So when you don't allow that, what happens is you end up turning into, you know, a groucho, right? When you wake up, you know, you're groggy, you're cloudy and foggy, right? And everything else like that. So when my 2 a.m. was done, after the first 2 weeks were finished, alhamdulillah, I was able to get back on, you know, sleeping early. You know, so what I would do is I would sleep early, you know, so at like 9:30, 10 maximum, I'd knock out, you know, and then I wake up beautifully at like 2:30 a.m., maximum 3 a.m. Okay. And that's the best time for a'mal. You know, that's the best time. So I would have my iftar. You know, of course, for you guys, your iftar is probably at 9, okay, or 9:30. You know, so but here our iftar is like in Najaf, it's at 7:00. Today was 7:10. 7:10,
okay,
p.m. So I have time to have iftar. I have time to like listen to Dua Iftitah, spend some time with the family, right? And of course, pray Salat Jama'ah with the family first. And then after that, you know, you know, my system doesn't allow me. I just shut down by 9:30, 10, you know, and I sleep. And today we were going to the shrine of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So I only found out like maybe I think an hour and a half or 2 hours before. And I got delayed doing some work. And I literally said, that's it, I'm going to go to sleep, even if it's for an hour. So I slept for an hour. I woke up at 12, a little before 12, and we headed off to the shrine. When I came back, you know, alhamdulillah, I had done my a'mal in the shrine. I got back by a little before 2 o'clock. I took a nap right until before morning prayer. I won't lie to you. I was very groggy, very cloudy, you know, standing up for salah. But you can manage, you know, if you put it in your, of course, the month of Ramadan is easier because you don't have as many whisperers and stuff, right? But what I'm saying is try to establish as much as you can, the habits now. So after, let's say, Shab al-Qadr, Laylat al-Qadr is done, Al-Kubra, tomorrow or today, whatever it was for you, then try to slowly kind of in the next few days, try to do that. Like try to sleep early. Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, salamullah alayha, especially for the nights of Qadr, she would let her kids sleep during the day so that they can do a'mal at night. Okay, so that's an exception. Okay, but after Layal al-Qadr, and by the way, she would do this even for the last 10 days, according to the narrations. Okay, but for you, what you can do is, so what you can do is maybe like sleep earlier, you know, make yourself prepared so that you can, you know, do the a'mal as much as possible. We know that most people, they don't do the a'mal for the last 10 days as diligently as they do for those main 3 days, the eves of the 19th, the 21st, and the 23rd, right?
Yes.
So, but yeah, definitely keeping that schedule is important. But during the month of Ramadan, if you're going to stay up after, inshallah, the sun rises, then, you know, go to sleep. Okay?
Yes. Shukran. May Allah bless you for imparting that wisdom to us, Sheikh. So I intend to stay awake the next 9 or 10 nights of the last part of Ramadan, inshallah. And I wish to do amal and istighfar, ibadat. And so I was planning to sleep in the morning, like here Fajr ends around 4:45, 5:30 is sunrise in Philadelphia these days. So maybe go to sleep from 5:30 to like about 10:30, 11. So that was my plan. But I can just as well, I can sleep in the day too, like from 3 to 8:30, right before iftar. I can do that.
Yeah, I think look, do what works for you, you know, but just manage your health and manage your time. You know, they say that fasting, medically speaking, actually helps your immune system, but also sleeping during the day brings your immune system down. You know, so you're kind of, the two are kind of at odds, right? But we know, since Ahl al-Bayt did this, that it has to be positive and good for us, you know, at least in this month as an exception. Okay, specifically as an exception for this. They didn't do it every day. They just did it for these last 10 nights.
Yes,
So, you know,
precisely.
take them as
Yeah.
an exception, figure out what works for you, and inshallah, may Allah accept bi'awnihi ta'ala.
Inshallah. Yes.
And remember after your dua.
It's just the last, 7 to 10 days. So inshallah, the
Yeah,
body
there's not much.
recuperate.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Ahsanta. Okay, anybody else? No one?
So I actually had a couple, but I'm gonna share one. Actually, I'm gonna share two. So the first one is there was a point where you were talking about like your dua is accepted, kind of like when you hit rock bottom, or like when you like recognize that the only person that can help you was Allah at that point. So there had been something that I was like asking for the past like 2 layal al-adl, like last year and the year before that, and like I haven't gotten it. And after you said that, I realized that I like wasn't at that point yet where like I like had like decided that Allah was the only one that can help me. But then there was something else that I like really needed for the last, so it was the first Laylatul Adr that night, and I asked for, and it was actually to like have Allah help me get through Laylatul Adr with work and just like my schedule, because I wasn't sleeping. It was all messed up. So the next morning I actually got a call from my manager, and I was telling him what was happening, and he was like, just take off now. I'm like, what do you mean? It's Wednesday. It was like Wednesday noon, and he gave me off for the whole rest of the week. So I got Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday off, subhanallah, just to like do amal and to like just to like get sleep, do my amal, and just be able to like practice the way I want to. So for that, being in like a corporate setting was incredibly rare, and I truly felt like that was completely Allah. Just like I never asked him to call me. There was nothing that, it wasn't even a scheduled call. He messaged me, he was like, can I call you? So subhanallah, I think that really stuck with me. And then my second aha moment was actually in Salah the other day. I was getting up from ruku'ah, and you know how you say, Sami Allah liman hamida? And I always thought that meant like God answers who like calls on them, but I realized that God answers who praises them or thanks them. And I think that was so beautiful, because we've been talking so much about hamd the past.
Hamd, yeah.
Yeah.
So hamd is key to our dua being answered. Allah will answer, right? But having that sense, because so there's several things. One, do I have to hit rock bottom for Allah to answer me? No. In certain things I do though, okay? Do I have to have hamd for Allah to answer me? Also no. But if I really want, to get things the way I want them, the way that Allah wants them, not the way I want them, then I have to have that hamd, okay? Right? Because the more I appreciate what I'm being given, the more likely I'm receive the next time, right? So if I give somebody a gift and they don't appreciate it, what's the likelihood that I'm going to spend as much the next time, even if I do give them a gift, right? So I realize this, by the way, when my kids bring me a Father's Day gift and I don't like it, the next year I don't get a gift that's as good. Okay, so one of the brothers asks, he says, well, if somebody hits rock bottom already and their dua isn't answered, what should one do? Well, see, it depends. That woman that went to Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam, that narration that we mentioned the other day, Brother Ali, she thought she had hit rock bottom, because at the end of the road, she went to the Imam. She was desperate. She went to the Imam. She said, what do I do? He said, go back home and do dua. A year passes. She comes back. Nothing's happened. Go back home, do dua. A third year passes. She comes to the Imam. What do I do? He hasn't come back yet. Go back home and do dua. It wasn't until the third year where she really, connected completely and hit that point where she realized that there's no one that can answer except for Allah. And it didn't push her away from Allah. Because there are people who say, oh, Allah's not answering me. Let me knock another door, right? But when you do it constantly, consistently, persistently, then you'll realize the meaning of that hadith that I told you about, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asked by the angels, this poor person keeps calling upon you and asking you over and over and over again, why aren't you answering them? And he says, I love to hear the voice of my worshipper as they repeatedly ask of me, you know.
Mm.
Right? Repeatedly. I hate for them to repeatedly ask from anyone other than me. Right? So you say, but isn't that torturing? You know, basically the angels are telling Allah, but you know, you give this guy what he wants. Yeah, I don't want to hear his voice, Allah says. You know, I don't want to hear his voice. Let him take whatever he wants from this dunya. He's not going to have what he wants from akhirah. Right? But in this world, those who are dear to me, I want to hear their voices, and I want to see how dedicated they are to me. You know, if I don't answer right away, are they going to leave my side? So the test of how much perseverance and resilience you have to have, even in the state of dua, it becomes extremely important also. And even though you might think it's enough, and I mentioned the other day that when you work out, right, all of these workout gurus, they tell you, you know, make the last one the best one. You still have energy. Tap into your soul, tap into your heart, tap into, right? And that's really what it is. It's all about tapping into that which you, when you think you've hit your limit, you haven't hit your limit. Okay? Only Allah knows when you hit your limit.
Subhanallah. Well said.
Okay.
Well said. Good example.
Bless you. Okay, so it's 7:02. I'm officially late for my next lecture. So inshallah, we'll continue with Dua Iftitah tomorrow, inshallah. And you know, really contemplate over, may Allah bless you, really contemplate over the words. If you weren't here for the past, for the, you know, last three paragraphs that we covered, then, you know, really contemplate over them. Even if you were, contemplate over them more. If you want, read ahead and try to understand the meanings. Use that website, almaani.com, if you don't understand any meanings, right, as I told you. And then come prepared, okay? If you don't come prepared, it's not a big deal, okay? I'll prep you. But if you, you know, if you want to, you know, then do so, okay? It does help the discussion more, and it opens up doors. It helps me too when you're prepared, by the way. Sheikh Ali will tell you, when you have a prepared student that comes to class, right, it's different when, you know, they're not prepared, because then they have questions right then and there. You know, and you always want to be able to go back and forth with the students, right? So may Allah bless you all, keep us in your dua. We dedicate whatever we learned today to Imam al-Hujjah salamullahi alayhi, for surely it makes him happy to see us as we understand the words of Imam al-Ma'soom salamullahi alayhi. We ask that Allah gives the reward to our dearly departed and of those of the mu'mineen and mu'minat, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates all of you, inshallah, in status, bestows His mercy upon your dearly departed. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa salli ya rabbi ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala bayti at-tayyibin at-tahirin.